Most homes are full of stuff people barely use, but they hold on to it all anyway because that stuff feels essential. You see it online, in stores and on Pinterest, so you assume that you need it too. But in real life, all that junk just clutters your space, stresses you out, and makes your home so much harder to manage. Because, to be clear, these things are not helping you. They're just taking up physical and mental space. So, today you're going to learn 9 things you don't actually need in your home, even if everyone else says you do. And number 1 here is too many throw pillows. Throw pillows are sold as the easiest way to make a space feel styled, but most of the time they just end up on the floor. They take up seating, they crowd the visual space, and they add more maintenance than they do comfort. So, in this first image here, both sofas are piled with pillows that look curated, but they eat up half the usable space, which makes the furniture feel cramped and just overly styled. This second image here shows a sectional where every seat has a different pattern. And so instead of softness, the room feels stuffed and just overly coordinated. And then here in this third image, again, the dining banquet is overwhelmed by pillows, which makes the tight corner feel even smaller and less functional for actual meals. So too many throw pillows may look cozy in photos, but in practice, they just create clutter, block seating, and create a need for constantly fluffing and adjusting those pillows. So, what should you do instead? Well, stick to 2 or 3 pillows for a sofa or bench. Choose quality over quantity, and let the negative space breathe. Now, number 2 on this list is having a TV in every room. Look, we've been trained to believe that having screens everywhere makes life more convenient. But more often than not, they just fill space without adding any real value. And when you barely use those screens, they're not even a tech upgrade. They're just visual noise. So here in this first image, the living room has this warm, layered design, but the TV is dominating the wall and stealing attention from the textures and the built-ins around it. The space could feel so much more natural and comfortable if it didn't have this screen, but instead, they've slapped one on the wall, and it just kind of kills the vibe. Here in the bedroom, the clean, minimalist cabinetry is interrupted by a screen that adds nothing but distraction to a space that's meant for rest. And then here in the kitchen, we've got another flat screen that's hanging awkwardly between these kitchen windows. It's an eyesore in a space that's meant to feel open, bright, and fresh. TVs don't automatically add function, especially when they compete with natural light, kill conversation spaces, or just barely get turned on. So, what should you do instead? Well, keep TVs in 1 or 2 spaces where you'll actually watch them, and let your kitchen, dining area, and bedroom serve their unique purposes too. Number 3 on the list here is having too many water bottles or tumblers. Now, I know hydration is important, but collecting bottles like Pokemon isn't helping your space. So, if half your cabinet is tumblers that you don't use, it's time to scale back because the more bottles you have, the less you're going to use each one. So, let's look at a few disasters here. All right. In this image, the bottles are upright and they're packed into a drawer, but the volume alone makes the space feel completely overwhelmed and not organized at all. Now, this shelf looks a little tidy, but it still holds dozens of bottles that are competing for space. And most of these are never going to get touched, because, let's be real, unless you're running a hostel, or, I don't know, a daycare, who really needs all these different bottles for even like a large family? There's no reason to have so many different bottles like this. And then again here, who could possibly need all of these bottles? This has to be some sort of a campgrounds, or I don't even know. But how is it possible to have all of these in a single space, right? This is the kind of stuff that feels harmless, but it adds up, and every extra bottle just becomes another lid that you're going to lose. So, what should you do instead? Just keep 2 or 3 of your go-to bottles that fit your specific routine, and then get rid of the rest and take back your cabinet space. Now, in a similar vein to water bottles. Number 4 on the list here is having excessive kitchen gadgets. I mean, just because it fits on a shelf doesn't mean it belongs in your kitchen. And so, these kind of bulky one-use appliances take up prime real estate without giving you much value. So, look at this, right? Everything is neatly lined up, but you're looking at 15+ machines and zero space for actual cooking. And you see something similar here. This cabinet is tall and clean, but it holds multiple coffee makers and slow cookers. And most households only use 1 or 2 of these items regularly. And then this third cabinet has a few things organized in these metal baskets, but the clutter still dominates and you lose flexibility for other real pantry needs. And so this is what I would call functional clutter, because it feels organized, but it's still eating up space that could be used for food, dishes, or just an open prep zone. So, what should you do instead? Well, keep only the appliances that you use on a weekly, or at the very least a monthly basis, and just let go of all the ones that are just collecting dust. Now, continuing on in the kitchen here, number 5 on the list is duplicate kitchen utensils, plates, and glasses, because it's easy to justify extras just in case. But most kitchens are filled with way more tools and dishware than anyone actually needs. And all those duplicates are turning your daily cooking into a constant battle with clutter. So again, let's see some disaster scenarios. Here in this drawer, we've got spatulas, peelers, and all these sorts of gadgets that are just jammed together. You can't even see what's in there, let alone grab what you need without a mini excavation. And the cabinet in this image is probably one that looks a little familiar to a lot of people, right? It looks fun and personal. But let's be real. No one drinks from 25 different mugs a week, and most of these just take up space and collect dust. And then this drawer is just showing more of the same, right? Multiple versions of every utensil with some of them barely used. So in other words, this is just a drawer full of just-in-case stuff that gets in the way every single day. So this isn't about hoarding, it's about habits. Because when everything's overloaded, you just tend to use the same 2 or 3 items anyway, and ignore all the rest. So what do you do instead? I'll keep the daily use essentials and just get rid of the duplicates. Your drawers will work so much better when you can actually see what's inside. Now, sticking with the kitchen theme here, number 6 on the list is a collection of spices that you never actually use. I mean, it's easy to fall into the trap of just getting one more type of spice. But when half your cabinet is full of unopened or expired jars, it stops being helpful. Most people cook with the same 5 to 7 spices all the time anyway, and just ignore the rest. So, check this out. Right in this image, we've got spices that are double-stacked and layered multiple layers deep. So, you can't see what you even have, which means you'll either buy duplicates or just forget that things exist entirely. Now, in this second image, things look really organized, but the sheer volume of spices here tells another story, right? This isn't a spice rack. It's a spice museum, and you're probably using the same few bottles every time you cook. And then this pull-out drawer, which I'm certain a ton of us have in our kitchen. It's still so overcrowded. And it's using valuable storage space that's eaten up by items you use just once a year, if ever. And don't forget, even if spices have a long shelf life, that doesn't mean that they don't lose flavor over time. And then they just turn into forgotten clutter. And when you can't access what you actually use, even your meal prep starts to feel more difficult. So, what do you do instead? Well, it's pretty much the same as everything else. Stick to the essentials, and then if you need to rotate in 1 or 2 new spices, only when a recipe truly calls for it. A more compact, curated spice setup is way more useful than just having a wall of jars. Alright, so let's step out of the kitchen for a second and go to number 7, which is having too many charging cables and tech accessories. I mean, we all know that drawer of mystery cords, right? It's not organized. It's just postponed clutter. And most homes are overflowing with outdated tech gear that no one has touched in years. And so, This first image here is a classic cable graveyard, right? Half of these cords probably don't even match the devices you own anymore, but they still take up space in your home. Now, this drawer may look slightly better, but with all these black chargers just tangled together, finding the right one feels like solving a crossword puzzle. And again, most of us have a box that looks something kind of like this in our homes, holding old phones, just random cables and gadgets that we haven't used in a decade. But all this outdated tech becomes dead weight that just eats up our space. So, these drawers are not functional. They're just full of what-ifs. And chances are you'll still borrow a charger before digging through that mess to find the one that you actually own. So what do you do instead? Keep one working cord per device. Toss all the duplicates and donate or recycle your old tech, because the storage space in your home should serve you, not stress you out. Okay, number 8 here is excessive reusable shopping bags. I mean, look, reusable bags are great until you start collecting them like trophies, because at some point, they stop being eco-friendly and start being clutter that you don't even rotate through. So, tell me if you recognize yourself in any of these images. Right here, the shelf is packed from wall to wall with folded bags. But even when they're neatly stacked, the overflow makes it hard to access or see which ones you actually use. Here we've got every size, color, and brand imaginable. Let's be honest. Most of them are freebies you didn't even choose, but felt bad throwing out. And then here we've got a full-on collection that covers the floor. But at that point, you're storing more bags than you are groceries. So, just like plastic bags used to build up under the sink, reusables can easily become the new clutter if you're not intentional with them. So, what should you do? Well, keep 3 to 5 sturdy bags that you actually use and recycle or donate the rest. Because it's not about having more. It's about having the right amount that serves you day to day. Okay, so number 9 is having too many unused cleaning supplies. I mean, more products don't equal a cleaner home. They just equal more stuff for you to store. And when every surface has its own bottle of G to clean it with, your under-sink cabinet turns into a mini hardware store. So again, some of these images are going to feel familiar. Right here, we've got a jumbled mess of bottles, gloves, brushes, and wipes with so many options that it becomes hard to find what you actually need. Now, here everything is organized into bins, but there's still tons of overstock with multiples of the same product that are taking up space just in case you need them. And here in this setup, everything is tidy. But again, it's excessive, right? With shelves of backups that might take months or years to get through. Because the truth is, most homes only need a few essentials, and the rest just expire, leak, or make cleaning feel more complicated than it should be. So, instead of holding on to dozens of different cleaning products, just stick to a small versatile lineup that you actually use and let go of all the backups and duplicates that never make it into that rotation, and stop buying so many, even if they're on sale. Because a home isn't better just because it has more stuff. It's better when it works better for you. And most of the time, the problem isn't a lack of storage. It's that we're storing too much junk. And so all the items on this list aren't bad in and of themselves. But they're not worth the space if they're not being used. And the fact that you're holding on to them says more about you, your scarcity mindset, and your ability to let go of things than it does about the items themselves. So get rid of all the stuff you don't absolutely need or love, and feel all that weight lift off your shoulders. Now, if you want to see some good examples of clutter-free homes that do this extremely well, I've recently published another video that'll teach you how to design a cozy home you love the right way. So, if that sounds like something you're interested in, watch this video next.